Chapter 7. Beaverton or Bust. Overwhelming. There's a sense that everything is coming down all at once, with no possibility of escape. I could feel the walls of my world closing, squeezing more and more out of me. I said I had nothing to lose, but in reality, I'd lost it all. I tried to close my eyes. I tried to concentrate on the world around me, but it feels as if my eyes are being pried open, being held by some unknown hand, forcing me to see everything for how it was, how it is, and how it will be, merged together into one singularity. I was told that it was fate, me being born deep under the protection of the earth, growing up having one person I truly cared for torn away, being chosen to clean up the messes of others, being trapped within my own prison. It was all fate, predetermined by some invisible hand that forced me to see everything. I was beginning to dislike fate, and at times I think the feeling was mutual. I needed to find a way to break away from my prison, to escape the fate that had tied me down for so long. I finally managed to do that. To escape my fate, to make a new life for me, away from the prison, away from hate, away from my old life. I threw off my shackles and shed my skin, and am reborn. To some, that's only the next step in my fate. But I say that fate can go fuck itself. My head hurts like hell. Guess that's what I get for being so existential so early in the morning. It is morning. I hope. Onion, did we pack any headache medication?
We, miss. As I recall, your choice of packing was grab anything and everything that wasn't nailed down and throw it in a bag.
I had to have been a little more selective than that. Right? Shit. I tried to get up from the bed, but the world started to spin. Threw me off balance so much that I went crashing down onto my bed. No, wait. This is the floor. It's too dark in here. Onion, can you shed a little light for me? I can't even find my pip-bore. Onion paused for a moment before activating something that pulsed with a low blue light. That works. There it is. I grabbed my pip-bore and slapped it on my wrist. Missing once, because apparently I had 3 arms. When did that happen? Shit. I really need some medication. When I finally got up, the pip-bore light activated. I saw my bag over near Onion and attempted to get at it again. Easy. There we go. Now, to get some support. I reached out towards Onion to have him help support me as the room swayed back and forth. I really hope I don't vomit. I grabbed onto something that made the pain from my head extend to my entire body, as all my limbs locked up and I fell, once again, to the floor. I think I was swearing, but I couldn't feel my mouth moving to the expletives. I just laid on the ground for a moment until I was able to feel, and move, my limbs again. The pain slowly returned to my head. What the fuck was that, Onion?
Well, miss, since you said you needed some light, and as you should know, I don't have any form of standard illumination capabilities, so I activated my only source of light, my stun baton. It was rather ill-advised to touch it, miss.
Rather ill-advised. I need to remind myself to take a good look at his personality programming sometime. After that fun wake-up call was over, I remembered my head still hurt and decided since I was so close, and already on the ground, I would just crawl over there. Luckily, I knew where the first aid kit was. I dug around in it until I found a small metal box. I unlatched it and sorted through everything until I found what I was looking for. It was a small piece of paper rolled into a tube with its ends crimped. On it was a red cross with the words, "Quickie Fix." I tore it open and poured the contents directly on my tongue. I forgot how nasty this stuff tasted. Thankfully, it worked fast. While I waited for the medication to kick in, I pulled out a dried carrot snack and nibbled on it. Within 10 minutes, my head was feeling better enough to allow me to get up and stay up. This stuff might be a minor pain reliever, but it's totally worth the horrible taste. I sat down and finished my carrot snack and drank half a bottle of water. I only had 2 more bottles with me. I hope this Beaverton really does have good water. After another 15 minutes, I was feeling almost as good as new. I checked in with Onion to make sure the repairs I'd made were still holding up, and I reminded him that if he shocks me again, even if it was my own damn fault, that I'd be replacing it with something safer. Like a stick. A dull stick. You don't by chance know what time it is, do you?
Well, miss, if my internal clock is properly adjusted, it should be about 7 in the morning.
Well then, let's be off, shall we? Oh, and one thing. We need to keep a low profile, just in case there's anything out there that might mean us harm.
Will do, miss. At least I know my baton works. In an emergency, of course.
I don't think he'll let me forget that one. I grabbed my backpack, latched on my tool belt, and placed the gun between the belt and my body. After what I saw last night, I may have to use it sooner than I would hope. Once I was sure we had everything, I slowly opened the door and peeked out. I was almost blinded by the sunlight. 7 in the morning, huh? Pretty bright for that early, isn't it? Onion and I stepped outside and saw that the sun was almost directly above us.
Looks like I was off by a few hours. There, my internal clock is updated. Synchronized with your pip-bore, miss. Looks like the Burrow time was off by a few hours.
Step 1 of my grand adventure. Leave the Burrow. Check. Step 2. Survive my first night. Check. Step 3. And this is the most important one. Set the proper time. Check. Okay, Onion. From what I overheard, Beaverton is a trading town that has a water purifier. That tells me 2 things. First, don't drink the groundwater. I'm going to assume that if water purification is a big deal, the water around here is no good for drinking. Secondly, if we're going to have a chance for survival, I think we need to outfit ourselves better. Beaverton sounds like a good place to start.
And like you said, miss, maybe our trip will end there and there will be something for us to do.
Correct. Now, there's only one teensy tiny problem.
That would be?
I have no idea where Beaverton is.
That would be a problem, miss.
It's not like I could walk up to those 2 rough-looking guys who just shot a defenseless lady and ask them, "Sorry to intrude on your murdering, but can you point me towards Beaverton place she mentioned? Thanks kindly."
Well, miss, I have good news. The files you uploaded from the Burrow History server have maps of the surrounding area.
Well, that's great news, Onion. So, which way do we go?
That's the thing. I do not see any mention of Beaverton. According to this, we are near Zootopia Stadium, that dreadful place where we narrowly escaped. Other nearby map markers show Animalia Amusement Park, Highway 21.
Wait. Highway 21? That's where the cheetah said her wagon was attacked.
Yes, the one you said was attacked by those ghastly things. We should stay far away from there, then.
Ghouls. I think they call them ghouls. And no, that's exactly where we need to go.
Excuse me, miss?
Think about it. She said they were heading towards Beaverton when they got attacked, right? That's at least starting in the right direction, don't you think?
Logically, yes. But what if we're attacked again? Surely that gun you found will be of no greater use than last time.
Oh, I have it all planned out, Onion. You play the music and run around again while I try to find some more explosives. Worked like a charm before.
You're not serious, are you, miss? I still have dents from that.
Of course I'm kidding. I think the first explosion is what riled them up. If we keep a low profile, we should be fine. They don't seem like the smartest things out there.
Well, if you insist, miss. I guess we can't go back now, so forward is the logical course of action.
Logic and I don't make good bedfellows at times, and Onion knows that. I think he also has come to the conclusion that I'm not going to give up. So what if a bunch of crazy ghouls almost killed us, and I saw someone get killed right in front of me? If that's the worst this world's going to throw at me, then we should be fine. Of course, the sooner we find somewhere to call home, the better. And Beaverton sounds like the best, if not only course of action. We set out, slowly walking through the collapsed tents. Occasionally I would poke my head inside one that was still standing, or search through a fallen one, trying to see if I missed anything last night. I didn't find much else that was useful. There was more empty rad cola bottles, empty cans, and otherwise useless things. I did find something odd, however. Inside one of the tents was tucked a small box, positioned like someone was trying to hide it. This one didn't have a lock, and so curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a small bag of soda bottle caps. Most of them had the word rad on it, but a couple had Sunset Sloth Spirilla printed on it. I guess after the world ends, someone has to have a hobby. I threw the bag on the ground, not wanting the unnecessary baggage. They were worthless trinkets anyway. When we passed where I saw the cheetah killed, it was mostly empty, save for her naked body. Looks like they stripped her of all her possessions and just left her. I knew she was dead, and there was nothing I could do for her, but I felt like I should do something. I went back and grabbed a small tent, tore the frame, and draped it over her, covering her entire body. It's funny. You would think that I would be affected by seeing a dead body. Sure, it hit me hard when I saw them kill her, but looking at her corpse just lying on the ground, it just looked like she was asleep. In her own blood. The blood that is now turning the green tent into a sickly yellow. Okay, there it is.
Are you okay, miss? Is your head still hurting? I know that they can cause bouts of nausea.
No, Onion, it's not that. I think the realization that I'm standing next to a dead body that I saw alive not too long ago was getting to me. Well, now, I probably shouldn't have said that. Looks like last night's carrot snack is about to make a return. After I cleaned myself off and swigged that nasty taste out of my mouth with the remaining water from one of my bottles, I was good to go. As long as I didn't think about the... No, Olivia. No. Okay. Try to focus. Beaverton. I looked at the map that Onion had downloaded into my Pip-Boar. I had never needed to use it before. It was pretty minimal. So Onion took the liberty of downloading what he had into it. It looked to be almost an hour's walk in this direction. How long was she looking for help? Thankfully, the trip was pretty uneventful. I saw some local wildlife, 2 very large cockroaches. Didn't think they got that big. Then again, I only ever saw them in books. Most of my knowledge came from books. There was very little to do in the Burrow other than read. Even when my mother passed away, I tried to read everything I could. And what I couldn't, I saved for later. Most of Onion's original programming came from whatever digital files I could access. I didn't know everything, but that's why I had Onion. There was not a cloud in sight, so that made the overhead sun a bit of a menace on me. It's not like it was very hot, but the direct sunlight made it feel much worse. I moved my ears around the best I could to facilitate my cooling, but my mouth was dry and my fur was getting all frizzy. I started to drink from a new bottle, but I did so sparingly. I had no idea how long it would be until I'd find more water. What I wouldn't give for a nice popsicle, or a frozen carrot stick. Anything cold, really. I guess I did take certain things for granted in the Burrow. Well, it's too late to dwell on the past now. After we had left the tented area, I started to take note of my surroundings better. There was not much around here. The land was mostly flat. Any plants that existed 200 years ago were not here today. Guess nuclear radiation is not the most fertile thing. Speaking of radiation, I was reminded of the fact that my Pip-Boar had a radiation detector a few times when it started to click. The few bits of water I found, most likely from the rain from the other day, spiked in radiation as I got closer. No drinking that. There was not much else to look at. Any buildings that were nearby were either dilapidated or boarded up. Some were barely standing on their own. Curiosity really wanted me to check some out, but getting sidetracked was not a good idea, especially since I had no idea how long it would be until we could find a safe place to rest. The last thing we need to do is open up a building and find it filled with ghouls. Now, if I found a nice, open, inviting house, that would be a different story. I could see the fallen remnants of highways that must have covered the area. At times, these must have crisscrossed each other, each taking a traveler to a new destination. Now, they lay crumbled to the ground, a shadow of their former selves. None of them, however, were our destination. It should be coming up any minute. Time to be a bit stealthier. Hey, Onion. You're not gonna like me, but could you scout ahead a bit? I think we're getting near our destination, and those ghouls don't pay much attention to you, unless you're blasting music.
The music you asked me to play.
Well, then just keep it off, and you'll be fine. I could have sworn I heard grumbling coming from him. Or maybe that was just his floating unit switching power levels. Either way, he obeyed. I switched on his tracker and followed him from a safe distance. I waited, crouched behind rusty hulks of automobiles. It was a decent-sized vehicle, probably for a lion or something. After about 10 minutes, Onion activated the communications link.
Miss, I think I found it, and... oh dear. You should really come take a look.
Well, he wasn't complaining about dents again, so it must be safe. Maybe I can find some sort of hardened combat AI to replace him. Actually, no. The last thing I should be doing is taking orders from him, no matter how much he'd probably enjoy it. I slowly got out from behind my cover and followed the tag to his location. The very first thing I noticed were the 3 bodies. One, a male cheetah. Must have been her husband. He was lying dead on the ground. One of his arms looked like it had been chewed off, and there was a large gaping cavity in his chest. I think I'm gonna be sick again. The smell from him cooking in the midday sun was not pleasant either. Holding back the urge to vomit, I looked at the other 2. It was the deer and wolf from last night. They, however, looked much worse. There were giant slash marks through both their bodies. Both the deer's arms looked like they had been torn, not chewed, from his body. The wolf was much worse off. His head was missing, along with one arm and one leg. He was lying in a heap on the ground. My gag reflex started to kick in, and I held it back as I turned to the wagon. It was actually less of a wagon and more of a truck, or at least part of one. The bed of the truck looked like it had been separated and a giant tent-like structure had been attached to it. Attached to the front of the truck were 2 more wheels and a crudely welded axle. I noticed what looked like a bicycle attachment to the very front. I remember reading about them when I was young. I really wanted my mother to get me one, but she always told me there'd be no room for it in the Burrow. This one, however, had 4 wheels, as opposed to just 2. That must have been a pretty hard trip, pedaling while pulling this metal thing. Then again, this might be a common example of transportation, and they were used to it. While attempting to ignore the decaying bodies, I went and looked inside the back of this vehicle. Inside was a whole bunch of everything. I saw clothes, canned food. Most of them had labels. Bottled water, an assortment of random things. And since the owners were dead and had no use for this, I guess I could help myself. I took what food I could, checking to make sure I could actually eat it this time, and sorted through everything else. I found a few blankets which I asked Onion to cover up the bodies with, to save me from losing my lunch. Two things caught my eye. There were 3 small bags, each filled with soda cap bottles, again. These must be really popular. I couldn't see the appeal, but decided to keep one of the smaller bags. Maybe it's worth something to someone. I also found another gun. This one looked very similar to the one I had, except it was much longer in the barrel. Since Onion had downloaded many of his reference guides into my Pip-Boar, I looked through them until I found one on small arms. From the sound of some of the descriptions, the long barrel was a silencer, designed to reduce both the sound and recoil of a gun. That suited me much better. I traded it for my other gun and found a box of ammo to go with it. Luckily, the guide informed me on the different ammo sizes and how to reload the gun. I should probably test this out. A book won't do me much good if I'm in trouble. Nothing else really seemed to interest me. Most of it was either worthless to me or too heavy or bulky, or it was unrecognizable. I did, however, find a black trench coat. It was a bit worn with holes through it, but it fit me pretty well. From what few animals I saw, my clothes looked way too clean and intact. It might make me stand out a bit too much. This coat, however, might make me look like I belong, and not some unexperienced rabbit, which sadly is the case. Once my head cleared a bit, I realized something. While we had found the wagon that was supposedly headed towards Beaverton, I was still no closer to finding out where the place was. Sure, we could just start walking in the basic direction the wagon was facing, but for all I know, it got turned around when they got attacked. I also realized that I was getting hungry, and with all that nausea, my stomach must be empty. I told Onion I was going to go a short distance away from here so I could eat away from the smell. Once I found a nice shady area, I sat down and took out one of the cans I'd found. The label said canned spinach. Mom always told me to eat my greens, and this is probably the greenest thing around here. I took out my tools and pried open the can. Inside was a green mush. It looked disgusting, but smelled like the best thing ever. I took a small bite. It was edible, and that's what counts. I scarfed down the food. It settled comfortably in my stomach. I followed it up with another carrot snack. I went to take a drink of water, but changed my mind and drank the remaining spinach water that was in the can. I had no idea how I should ration the food, so I kept it at that. I'll see how long until I get hungry again, and go from there. On my way back to Onion, I happened to notice my reflection in a car mirror. I almost didn't recognize myself. The trench coat hid most of my features from the neck down, including my tool belt. The normally white fur on my neck and face had grime all over it. I tried to wipe it away, but managed simply to embed it in the fur. I almost took out some water to clean up before I stopped myself. From the looks of it, dirty is the new black. The rest of the auburn fur on my head and ears didn't fare well either. Half of it was frizzled from the heat, and the other half was caked with who knows what. Maybe Beaverton will have a shower. Now that I'm thinking of it, I have high hopes for Beaverton. I really hope it pans out. First, I gotta find it.
Oh, miss, there you are.
I told you I was gonna rest and grab something to eat.
Yes, but I think I found a solution to our navigation predicament.
I walked over to him, and in one of his gripping claws was a small rolled-up piece of paper. I took it and rolled it out on the ground. It was a road map, only it had been heavily modified with paw-written words and images. Circles in red with names that gave me hope. Beaverton.
I cross-referenced this map with my internal one, and it seems the town known as Beaverton was built on the site of a pre-war water purification plant.
That would explain the popularity, and if they kept it running all these years, they could have a nearly limitless supply of fresh, clean water. Could you update my Pip-Boar's navigation with this new data?
Already done, miss. I calculated that with our current mode of transportation, or lack thereof, we should make it in roughly 3 hours, provided there are no unforeseen detours. And from what I have seen of this place, that is highly unlikely.
For the first time since leaving the Burrow, we had a destination. Along with new clothes, supplies, and good weather. This day was turning out to be pretty good. I really hope I didn't just jinx myself thinking that.
Oh, and miss, I also found this.
Onion handed me a small letter. It was sealed with the words, "Urgent, for the eyes of Mr. Brown only." Mr. Brown? Well, she did say that they were in a rush when they were attacked. By the way, Onion, where did you find the map?
While you were gone, I took the liberty of giving these poor unfortunate souls a proper rest. Or at least the best I could. It seems that the cheetah was holding on to it when he died.
That's actually quite nice of you, Onion.
A little kindness goes a long way, even if they're unable to recognize it.
Kindness. It's only been 2 days since I left the Burrow. But everything that I've seen makes me think that kindness is a foreign word. Then again, I've only seen 3 intelligent people since arriving on the outside, and 2 of them were cold-blooded bastards. I still have a lot more to learn and see, so hopefully my first impressions of this world are not the representations of it. Time to go, Onion. We got quite a way to go. And I want to make sure we're at our destination by nightfall. It's only 3 hours, but, like you said, anything can happen and we need to be prepared.